Welcome to another episode of Barstool Rockers, a journey down the rabbit hole of rock and roll's past, present, and future. Now, here are your hosts, Jim Finn and Dan Michaels.
So I did call my buddy last night. He does production at the Buffalo Chick.
Nice.
And he said,
"What do you sound guys all just
we do
cling together?"
But yeah. he said Foreigner was absolutely the nicest crew they've ever worked with. So it's awesome.
You can't expect too many divas out of that bunch.
No, and so today we're getting to talk to Mr. Pilson.
Yeah, lots of Foreigner stuff in the news and just basically all around good stuff.
And he's not just a musician; he's a movie star.
Right.
My God, he was Yorkin and Rockstar.
Yeah, there with Marky Mark.
Steel Panther. No,
that Steel Dragon. Steel Panther is something we know. Steel Panther.
They have a foot pedal, you know. Yeah. They have a guitar pedal. It's going over it's going over about like a fart in church right now.
You wore your spandex today.
Yes, it's always attractive to the ladies when an overweight man wears spandex.
Steel Dragon.
Phone's ringing.
92.1.
Hey, it's Finn there.
This is.
Finn, hi, it's Jeff Pilson from Foreigner.
Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Great.
Glad you could take some time to talk with us today.
Oh, me too. Me too.
By the way, I'm joined in the studio by another jock. Dan Michaels is joining me because he was pretty ecstatic about this possible interview. So he's in the studio. Dan, Jeff, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Hi. So how is Steel Panther these days, Jorgen?
We're getting along great because we hardly ever see each other. Although that's actually not true. I was with Jason Bonham all summer on the tour that we did this summer, and which was great. And Jason is doing great. So part of Steel Panther is doing great. It's been several months since I've seen Zach, but everybody else seems to be doing well.
How is Jason's Led Zeppelin experience?
It is unbelievable. It's actually called Led Zeppelin Evening now.
That's right. Because there was a little legal thing with the band.
It's amazing. He's got a Japanese guitarist by the name of Jimmy Sakurai, Mr. Jimmy as they call him, and he is just incredible. He even looks like Jimmy Page, like a young Jimmy Page. It's amazing.
Cool.
And he plays everything so perfectly. The band is great. Darian, the bass player, is unbelievable. Everybody is just and James Dillon, the vocalist, he just sounds so great. They really do capture the Zeppelin thing in an amazing way. It's
very
really cool.
Very cool. That has to make for a really fun tour together.
Hey, Jeff.
It is. And Whitesnake in the middle, come on.
Yeah, exactly. So, Jeff, I understand you are no stranger to Wisconsin. You have Wisconsin connections. You spent some time.
Boy, do I.
Tell us about it.
My parents were born there. My dad was born in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and lived 4 houses away from Les Paul as they were growing up, and they were childhood friends. Cool. My mom was born in Milwaukee. I lived there for 9 years, and I still have a brother there. I have infinite number of cousins there, and lots of friends. So Wisconsin, I am come on, I lived there in the 60s, so of course I'm a diehard Packer fan.
So
I'm pretty Wisconsin.
You're a cheesehead at heart.
At heart. I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Do you have a Packers logo?
Cheese.
Do you have a Packers logo on the back of a base somewhere? Flip it up?
No, but I have Packers shirts and all that kind of stuff. And my cousin has the coolest man cave in the world with Packer memorabilia like you've never seen. He's got the programs to the first 2 Super Bowls. I mean, he's got the real thing. He's got signed jerseys from everybody, including Bart Starr. I mean, come on.
Nice.
It's insane.
Nice. Well, I got to tell you, you've had a hell of a career. You are such an amazing bassist, but wow, I know this is not a case of just being lucky because you are a great bassist. You've played with Dokken. You've performed with Ronnie James Dio. And now in Foreigner, and you've been the bassist for Foreigner for how long now?
14 years.
14 years. How did you guys originally...
I am the longest tenured bass player in Foreigner's history. Strange claim to fame, but it happens to be true, so I'm going to throw it at you.
Why not?
How did you originally hook up with Foreigner?
Well, as a matter of fact, it was through Jason Bonham because he and I had done the movie rock star, of course, which is the Steel Panther reference that you made. Steel Dragon, I mean, reference. You did say Steel Panther, didn't you?
I did.
But it's Steel Dragon.
Yeah, well, that's my
It
problem.
happens all the time, by the way, and I always confuse the two, too, so don't feel bad.
Get out some spandex. Either way.
But we had just done the movie. We'd done the movie a couple years previously, and Jason started working with Mick, and kind of convinced Mick. Mick wasn't sure what he wanted to do, whether we wanted to do a solo record or what. But Jason kind of said, "Hey, no, why don't we revamp Foreigner? Let's go out and do it." And so we did, and they called me up, and that was in the summer of 2004, and we started. It was instantaneous chemistry. I was a big Foreigner fan anyways, and so the music comes very naturally to me. And we just had a great time building it up, and it's been very rewarding that we're now to the point where we're headlining these sheds and doing these orchestral shows. We're doing an orchestral tour of Australia coming up in the fall. I mean, we're playing the Sydney Opera House with an orchestra.
Ooh,
How
that'll
cool
be
is that?
That'll be neat.
So we're very, very proud of what we've built, and all has been just a really great path. And I owe it all to the great music that Mick Jones came up with, which allows us to be here.
Yeah, it's amazing. You go back to when Foreigner first got together back in '76, and then they released that first album. They pretty much hit the ground running right away with that first album, Cold as Ice and Long, Long Way from Home, and then they put out Double Vision, and that is got to be such a hard thing to come up with the set list every night because the catalog is so amazing.
Yeah. The hardest thing about a Foreigner set list is which songs you leave out.
Yeah.
It is. It's really true. I mean, 16 top 30 songs. How many bands can say that?
Well, with a team
we're very fortunate in that. And we know that because, pretty much the audience knows every single song at our shows. And that's just incredible. There's nothing like that for building up an audience, or for building a show with an audience. And it is. It starts with the material, and Foreigner just had great material. I mean, there's a reason why Mick Jones and Lou Gramm are in the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
And that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah,
that's what I was just going to say. So,
and it's a good time to be a Foreigner fan and just a fan of great music overall, because now we are getting original members of Foreigner with the current members of Foreigner. We're putting them together. We've got the Double Vision Then and Now tour. We're going to get more shows with the current band members and the original members, right?
That's right. There's 4 more shows coming. It's pretty exciting.
There's 2 West Coast, 2 East Coast. Now, when Rick jumps up, do you get a break, or is it like double the pleasure, double the bass clef pleasure?
The first half of the show is the current Foreigner. Then the second half is the original Foreigner. So I leave the stage and Rick plays. Mick is the only one that stays in both. And then in the encore, we're all up there. I actually, because Rick played on "I Want to Know What Love Is," and I out of respect, I love letting him play both those songs, and I play a 12-string. So it's very, very fun for me.
So with the Buffalo Chip reunion that you guys just did, they said you guys were working out in a motel not too far away. Once he hit the stage up there, once everybody was up there and you're playing "I Want to Know What Love Is," what was it like looking out into the audience of, leather-faced, leather-clad motorcycle men singing along with "I Want to Know What Love Is"?
They're big softies anyway.
It's called a day at the office for me, but you know what? It's great. I mean, that's one thing about that song. That song does break down the barriers, and you could be a hardcore biker, or you could be, a ballerina, and you're going to love that song, and it's pretty cool. So, you know what? It was just it's a magical thing. We call it Super Foreigner when both bands are playing together.
Yeah.
And when we're up there doing that, man, the energy is just ridiculous.
Well,
it's just ridiculous.
Foreigner always puts on a fantastic live show. And Kelly Hansen is no slouch of a vocalist at all. But it is a dream come true that Lou Gramm is back on stage again.
It is so much fun. And you know what? The two of them have a lot of fun together. For one thing, and nobody knew what this was going to be like, but it turned out that the two really, really get along great and really love each other and have a lot of respect for one another. And they have a very easy time deciding, who's going to sing what line and all that kind of stuff. And then the two of them singing together, it's pretty powerful, man. Wow, you got to hear it. I mean, it's just amazing. So yeah, it's really, really special. And listen, we understand how special it is. We don't take it for granted. And I don't think any of the 12 of us do. I think we're all very, very appreciative. And it's just, the fact that most bands in our situation, you couldn't do that. You couldn't get all the members together. The fact that we can, I am so proud of, because it means that we put the music ahead of everything else. And then at the end of the day, we all end up getting along great and having a lot of fun together, going out to dinner. It's all great. And that's what music should be. Music should be fun. It should be a communal experience, and it should make people happy. And if we're doing that, we're doing our gig.
Yeah.
After the next 4 of the Super Foreigner shows, will there be any more on the schedule, or is it pretty much once 2018 has passed, you missed it?
You know what? I don't know. The answer to that question is I don't know. We haven't really talked about it. We're kind of taking it a day at a time. So it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility, but it's not a guarantee either. It's one of those things where some situations just kind of came along that made it very hard to say no. And so we'll see. I mean, again, there's no barriers here. We'll see. And I got to say, I personally hope it does happen some more, because it is a really fun experience. But we'll see. And but I would certainly not expect that to happen. So if you're in one of those cities when we're playing, you should definitely come and see the show.
Oh yeah, yeah. How cool was it that Foreigner topped the Billboard Classical Album chart?
Well, I can't even tell you. especially I'm the producer of the record, so for me to get my first number 1 on a classical record,
there you go.
Gotta be kind of happy.
Yeah, after working with Dokken,
cool.
And Dio,
Steven Adler,
yeah.
Speaking of Dio, Doug Aldrich was in a story last week saying that he thought Ronnie James Dio would be kind of torqued off at the whole idea of a hologram tour featuring himself, calling him a no-frills guy. He just wasn't down for stuff like that. What's your opinion on the hologram?
You know what? I must admit, I respectfully kind of disagree with Doug. I think, of course it would depend on how it was done, because Ronnie was into quality, obviously. And if anything was done in a cheesy way, he would be the first to yell about it. But I haven't seen it personally, but what I've seen of it on video, it looks like it's really, really well done. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think if you were to really press Ronnie and say, okay, you can either, because you passed away, you can either not ever be seen on the stage again, or somehow, and sure, it's not the same as seeing you live, but somehow you can have your image be out there with this great music that you made. I think he would actually look at it like, hey, if it's getting the music out there, as long as it's not cheesy, as long as people don't feel disappointed, I'm all for it. That's my personal feeling of how he would feel.
While we're on the topic of Dio, you got any personal memories of the time you spent working with Ronnie?
Oh my God, endless supply. I mean, listen, he was also a dear friend for 35 years. So, well, hold on, he passed away 8 years ago. So, anyway, but he was a dear friend. So, I mean, it goes way beyond working with him. I mean, he was the type of person that would give you the shirt off his back. He really, honestly was. So, and there's hardly a day that goes by where I don't think of him in some way or another. Oftentimes, he's brought up in interviews, of course, but he was just a great friend and a great human being, and the type of person that, if things were not feeling great, you could hang around with him and you could talk about it, and suddenly things would feel a lot better. He was that kind of guy. He listened. He was a great listener. And then when it came to making music, I mean, we were very kindred souls. We were both real hard workers. We're both very picky and particular, and wanted to be great. And so we really enjoyed working together for those reasons. And so working with him was just really, really a joy. And Yeah, I mean, I miss him. So, do I have stories? I have infinite stories, but that would be a whole show right there.
It sounds like you've had good luck as far as working with your professional partners.
I've been very, 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 very fortunate, and I never take that for granted. I really don't. I mean, I may have my days when I get a little tired or a little cranky from all the travel and whatnot, but I never forget what a great job I have and the great people I've worked with and the great music I make and continue to make.
Well, Jeff, you are an extremely talented musician. We look forward to the future of Foreigner with all these shows coming up. It's like I said, it's just a good time to be a Foreigner fan and just a fan of good music all around.
Sure is. Sure is.
So thank you for taking time and chatting with us today.
Well, thank you, fellow Wisconsinites. I appreciate it, and I hope I will be seeing you very, very soon.
We'll be there. Thank you,
All right,
Jeff.
man. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
Talk soon.
All right.
Well, that was cool to chat with him today.
Yeah, and I still screwed up and called it Steel Panther.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Steel Dragon.
Steel Dragon. Steel Dragon. Now we sound like we're 14-year-old girls in the front row at a tribute concert. Why the hell not?
Jeff Pilson, a Foreigner.
And big news, the mothership put us on the iHeartRadio app. People can download us there. They can get us on iTunes, as always. They can get us on Spotify. And
Spotify. We're on Spotify?
We're on Spotify, too. Cool. So regardless of where you're listening to us, thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. If you like what you're hearing, leave us a rating. It kind of helps other folks find us. And as always, just thanks for listening. So,
did you mention the website, too?
BarstoolRockers.com. You'll have some information about Mr. Pilson and all sorts of stuff like that. You can also check us out via our radio station's website, rock921.com.
Steel Dragon.
Steel Dragon.
Do you want the gig then? What's wrong with air supply?